Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start because it is 12 o'clock. We are recording and we are live on Facebook. So before we get started, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Krista Gervon, and I am the Communications Director at Princeton Integrative Health. Princeton Integrative Health is an integrative health practice in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, if you aren't aware of us. And some of the services that we offer are chiropractic, obviously, acupuncture, functional medicine, medical marijuana, and much more. We focus on root cause and healing. um, Today, I am joined by Dr. Connie Garofino.
Hello.
Hi, Connie. Second. Connie is a prenatal and pediatric chiropractic and functional medicine practitioner with a focus on family wellness and supporting women of all ages with hormonal imbalances. She works with women struggling with period problems, fertility, and pre and post-menopausal issues. Dr. Connie's practice also includes children's health and supporting families raise healthy, vibrant kids. A native to New Jersey, she started seeing a chiropractor when she was 6 months old after having multiple ear infections and pneumonia. Her mother was ahead of her time and focused on feeding her children whole, healthy, and organic food to support her immune system while getting her adjusted on a regular basis to support her nervous system. Dr. Connie is a mother of 2 young boys, which has taught her the more practical aspects of working with families, and today will be giving us some great tips on ways to support your own family's immune systems. So, just a couple other housekeeping items before we get into the interview. Just wanted to first say that this is in no way medical advice. Everyone is very individual, and before you take any information from what you get here today, please consult your own healthcare practitioner. And also, by joining this call, you are agreeing to being recorded. We are also live on Facebook, as I just mentioned, and this will be published eventually on YouTube as well and our website. So thank you all again for joining. If you have questions, we're going to do a couple of questions to start off, just to give you some of the more information. And then if you have any additional questions, please write them in the chat so that I can ask Dr. Connie as we go through. Okay? All right. So, Dr. Connie, did you have anything else to add before we get started?
No, that was quite the introduction. Thanks for doing this with me today. This is great.
Oh yes, and my name under the Zoom says Jenna Richardson. Jenna Richardson is our clinical director at Princeton Integrative Health. I am using her Zoom. I am hosting a Zoom for the first time in my life, so please be patient with me as we have any hiccups along the way. But I do appreciate you all for joining, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go from the more broad issue. We're talking about immune support for the whole family, and we know that immune support can start from what we eat. Foods obviously have so much to do with keeping our immune systems healthy and strong. So, Dr. Connie, what are the most important foods that you would suggest people stock up on this winter to keep us nice and healthy during these winter months?
Well, hopefully by having this podcast we're recording, we don't cause a shortage in foods like there has been with toilet paper. But food in this office and in our practice we use as medicine, and it's the first and foremost most important thing that you can do on a regular basis to help to support your immune system, gut health, and overall well-being of you and your whole family. I have a list of 10 superfoods that I say are for super kids. Obviously, adults can partake in this too, and so usually it's a little bit more of a challenge of just trying to get kids to eat. So I have some helpful tips on how to do that as well. But some of the best foods that you can be eating to help to support your immune system are, first and foremost, eat the rainbow. So eat every color imaginable. Even when try and eat seasonally, which in the wintertime can be a little bit more challenging. Things tend to be, darker green and, white with cauliflower, but ultimately we can still be eating lots of fruit, vegetables. I mean, beets are in season and easy to get now, but still incorporating, bell peppers and things like that. There's more vitamin C in a bell pepper than there is actually in an orange. So vegetables, eat the rainbow is one of the most important things. Chia seeds are also on my list. They contain a huge mineral content. They are also a really nice form of soluble fiber, and are plant-based omega-3s, which help with inflammation and supporting cell health in general. Um, Eggs are also a really important part of the diet. Especially when they are pasture raised, they have a really good source of omega-3 fatty acids as well. Um, Small wild fish like sardines and anchovies, the smaller the fish, the less toxins they contain. So making sure that you are having an abundance of those in your life and kind of trying to stay away from those larger, more toxin containing fish like tuna that have been living in the ocean for a long time and have a higher incidence of heavy metals and things like that. Eating a wide range of gut healing foods that are like lacto fermented. So things like kombucha and kefir and plant-based yogurts. Most people have more of a hard time with dairy. So I tend to steer people clear of dairy when I can. But eating sauerkraut and cultured vegetables, which are so easy to do. I mean, in your own home, you literally just stick salt and water and vegetables in a jar and let it sit in your pantry for a week. Just don't tighten the top too much so that it doesn't explode. Having lots of soluble fibers in your diet, which are going to help to feed the microbiome and the bacteria that are in your gut. So things like sweet potatoes and spinach and quinoa and oats, they're all good sources of soluble fiber to help in that prebiotic sense of feeding the bacteria that are in your gut. Having high quality grass-fed organic meat when possible. The grass-fed helps to make sure that the omega-3, omega-6 ratio is right so that it's not inflammatory in nature. Making sure that you have enough good, clean fats in your diet. So organic grass-fed butter or ghee, again, the small fish come into the picture here. Coconut oil, walnuts, avocado oil, and avocados. I really love olives too. There's fiber and there's olive oil in them. So it's another really good one that I think a lot of people forget about. And I think that's my list for like the most immune supporting, foods. Yeah. Ultimately, eating whole food that you prepare yourself and staying away from processed foods, things that have chemicals and funky colors, is really kind of the rule of thumb.
Yeah, I love Eat the Rainbow. That's a great way to just kind of concisely put it together. Just go to the grocery store and grab every color that you can find, not funky colors, natural colors.
Right. Yeah.
And then, it just shows that you can have any type of diet, whether or not you're a vegetarian, you eat meat, gluten-free or lactose intolerant. There's every type of food under the sun that can help you support your immune system.
Right.
So thank you so much. That was such great information, and such a wide variety of foods. What about herbs and supplements? I know, there's so many out there. People probably get confused as to what the best ones are. And, there's some that get kind of popular in the media. So what's your take?
So when it comes to, the difference between, I would say, like vitamins and supplements versus herbs, and in like a tonic form, tonics are meant to be taken more over the course of long term to see general effectiveness. That's where we see a lot of our adaptogenic type herbs like ashwagandha and ginseng, which adaptogenic means that the herb is going to do whatever your body needs it to do, whether it needs to upregulate a system or downregulate a system. So having those on a regular basis are a really good way to help to stimulate the immune system and make sure that it's functioning properly long term. I also, in the wintertime, always use echinacea. in a tincture. And that's easy because for me and my kids, personally, I do 5 drops of echinacea in my son's like morning vitamin, which is water and a little bit of liquid vitamin, and then just a couple drops of echinacea in the morning. He throws the whole thing back. And then again in the evening. So it's not much, but because it's ongoing, it's an ongoing exposure, it helps to boost his immune system in the long term. Another really great immune supporting and respiratory supporting herb is astragalus. So that's another one that, especially if we start to see, upper respiratory symptoms or a cough or any kind of cold come on, adding in that astragalus is really going to help to clear the airway and make sure that the lungs are staying as healthy as they can. American ginseng is another one that can really help to stimulate the immune system. Again, it's an adaptogenic herb, so it can help also in an acute respiratory infection as well. Those are probably the most, those are the herbs that I recommend most often. When it comes to supplements or vitamins in general, I have 4 that I think are really the most important for supporting the immune system. I guess it's almost 5, but vitamin D is first and foremost one of our biggest, and it's also one of our most commonly deficient vitamins. People don't get out in the sun enough without tons of coverings and sunscreen and things like that. So working on getting enough sun exposure in the summer to carry you through the winter time. Unprotected sunlight at that, you have to build your way up, but it's a really important thing to do. And then supplementing as heavy as you need to based on test results. We in this office, we test for vitamin D levels so that we make sure that we are dosing properly based on the patient. Vitamin C is one of our best antioxidants, and people don't make vitamin C. So it is a water-soluble vitamin. We do need to consume it. We can get it in our food to an extent, but when we start to feel under the weather, it's also okay to kind of megadose vitamin C. It has heavy antiviral properties, so it's a really, really important one for supporting the immune system. Zinc is another one that often we tend to be deficient in and has been shown to decrease the length of influenza and the common cold, as well as the severity. So zinc is another really important immune supporting supplement. And then last but certainly not least is probiotics. So making sure that you have, I tend to alternate between probiotics based on the patient, and but working on the gut microbiome. So make sure you have all that fiber that we talked about before, and then the actual bugs to then be able to eat the prebiotics foods that you're feeding it. 80% of our immune system lives in our gut, so we need to make sure that we support that in order to have a healthy and robust immune system.
Awesome. Just for anyone that may not know, can you explain what a tincture is?
Sure. So tincture is herbs that have been steeped in either a vegetable glycerin or an alcohol solution. So it's basically a liquid, comes in, a dropper form, and comes in a non-alcoholic version. That's how we dose kids. But then there is the, alcohol-based solutions as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was
Yeah.
information as well. And you kind of segued very well into my next question, which was going to be, what are some of the best tasting immune boosting foods for kids? I know you mentioned a lot of foods earlier, but sometimes it's hard to get kids to eat some of these foods. So
Sure.
What do you recommend for us being able to get our kids these immune boosting either herbs or supplements and foods?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before with my son, he has a liquid vitamin that we use, but I don't give it to them often, but sometimes orange juice really hides the taste of tinctures well, if people have a really hard time with it. Some of the herbal tinctures are pretty strong, but a little bit of orange juice to, wash down an herbal tincture is certainly not the end of the world. It is a little bit more sugar than I usually recommend, but The other thing too is small exposures, especially with kids and tinctures. They really over time don't have an issue with it. It takes a little bit of coaxing in the beginning, but start small, and then eventually they will start to, their palates will shift.
Mhm.
The statistic is it takes on average 8 times for someone to be exposed to a food before they begin to like it. And
That's
that's the average. So it can be up to 15, 20 times before somebody ever decides whether or not they have a taste for something. So don't give up. That's the other thing with parents when I'm working with kids is don't have the language of, oh, my kid doesn't like that. They might not like it today, but try it again tomorrow in a different form because eventually they will.
yeah.
So that being said, making sure that if you're going to give them something new or more adventurous, try and feed that to them first at a meal when you know that they're hungry. Because kids will eat when they're hungry, and they will eat pretty much whatever you put in front of them when they are hungry enough. We have this mindset that they have to eat. They have to eat. Well, they'll eat when they're hungry. You just sometimes you have to get them there, which is easier said than done sometimes. But if you're, have like a one bite rule, try this new thing one time. You don't have to eat the rest of it. We'll move on. No big deal. But some of the best and easiest foods, I guess, to, hide, but not necessarily hide, but just to increase plant-based material into our diet are foods like cauliflower, zucchini, squashes like butternut squash or acorn squash. Any of those foods can be steamed or roasted and then pureed and mixed into pretty much any sauce that
Yeah.
you, whether it be tomato sauce, or if it's more of like an Alfredo type sauce, or if it's a curry sauce. Blending in vegetables is a really easy way just to increase vegetable content into our food. I make an avocado pudding for my son that is cocoa powder and avocado with a little bit of honey in it.
Wow.
He gobbles it up and thinks it's pudding, and it's great.
It sounds actually.
Grating zucchini, yeah, it's really good. Grating zucchini into and using it in breads or muffins or even in meatballs is another really easy and simple way to kind of just increase plant content. And then if you are interested in attempting to try and get some more of those fat soluble vitamins into your diet or your kids' diet, we've as a culture have really moved away from eating organ meats. But if it's something that you're looking to try and do, I have found that if you freeze liver and then grate it while it's still frozen, it comes out in the texture is much smaller, and you can mix it right into meatballs or meatloaf and nobody ever knows. Um, I even have to hide it from myself because I don't love the flavor.
Yeah.
Some people love the flavor, and that's great. Eat it. Some people don't. It's not really part of our culture, but it's a really important part of our diet that we are missing out on.
Yeah, those are such good ideas. Pureeing vegetables into a sauce, so simple. We like to food process a bunch of vegetables and put it in meatloaf. So like you said, with the meatballs, you can hide it in meatloaf, those types of things too. So
Yeah.
there is a way to get the kids to eat the vegetables, even if they resist. But like you said again too, about giving them the same food over and over again, because eventually they might like it. We do the same thing with my oldest son, who's a very picky eater. He'll say, I don't like that. Why'd you put it on my plate? And we're like, try it again. Maybe you'll like it today. And so
Right.
we do the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. So shifting gears a little bit, we all obviously went over lots of foods and supplements, herbs, but what about the importance of sleep for our immune system?
Sleep is so important for our immune system. I mean, behind food, it's probably the second most important. Our sleep is when we rest and we regenerate and we recycle all of our cells, and our kidneys and our liver are most active during the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. So making sure that we're getting good quality sleep around those hours is very, very important for us to be able to support our immune system, have adequate energy during the day to be able to just get through life. I talk a lot with my patients about sleep hygiene and decreasing screen time, before we go to sleep, because that activates the brain and doesn't allow us to actually get into a nice, deep, healing sleep. So that is a big part of our conversations often, especially with teenagers is really hard. Even adults, I mean, we get stuck on our screens and it's just where we are. So really making an effort to turn those screens off about an hour and a half before bedtime makes a huge difference on how our brains are able to shut down and get to sleep and get good quality sleep. Making sure that our room is cool enough that we aren't sleeping in very, very hot rooms is another really key factor to getting quality sleep so that our immune systems can function properly.
Awesome. What about, I mean, obviously everyone has a certain level of stress. I think this year stress levels were a little intensified. How's stress relate to our immune system, and what types of things would you recommend us to do in order to maybe decrease or manage our stress levels so that it doesn't affect our immune system as much as it can?
Yeah. So, I mean, stress shuts off our immune system. It doesn't allow it to function properly. So, learning to manage stress, I think this is the year of learning to manage stress. And there's, the way to manage stress really it's pretty simple, but at the same time, it can be challenging. One of the best ways to help to manage stress and have a proper stress response is to have a meditation practice. 5-10 minutes a day, a couple times a day, connecting with your breath, quieting your mind. Having a quiet mind equals a healthy body. So making sure that you make time for that. Again, it's a simple practice, but it is very hard for most people to do. Taking 5 or 10 minutes of time, a few times a day, to make sure that you are connecting with yourself and calming your mind. Managing, what else was I going to say? Meditation is by far the most important. Making sure that you laugh and enjoy, the life that you have, and the little bits and pieces that are good is also going to help to relieve stress. Making sure you move on a regular basis. We are very stagnant, and this year has increased that probably fivefold for people who are no longer even walking to the bathroom or going to fill their water bottle or walking to their friend's desk at work. There's so much more sitting involved with everybody just working from home. So making sure that you are getting up and incorporating movement, even if it's small amounts of movement throughout the day. It's more about the culmination of movement throughout the day, rather than like, oh, I need to go and exercise for 45 minutes right now. Do 10 squats when you come back from the bathroom. Go, and if you can, take calls and go for a walk. Make that part of your day. Add in some push-ups throughout the day. Get up, have a standing desk so that you're constantly changing positions, and just incorporating a little bit of movement here and there throughout your day is going to make a huge difference in how you are stressed and manage stress. I think those are probably my 3 biggest tips.
Absolutely. I remember kind of toward the beginning of the pandemic, I, like a lot of people, had stopped doing a lot of movements. I stopped going to my gym, and it was awful. And then one day I was like, I gotta do something. So I would just go on really long walks with my dog, like 2 or 3 miles a day. And it was a huge shift after that. The fresh air, just getting out there, seeing neighbors sometimes, It was nice. It was definitely, I could see a noticeable difference in my mood for sure.
And it doesn't need to be like hardcore movement.
No, yeah.
Move something.
And you can bring your phone and listen to music, and just to get away. So, all right, let's see what's next. Do you have any specific recommendations as far as women's immune support goes? Like maybe there's additional things that women need to do to having to do with their hormones or things like that?
So one of the best things that women can do is incorporating those adaptogenic herbs. A lot of them help to support what's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which controls our stress response, and then to a certain extent controls a lot of our sex hormones and what's going on with them. So those adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and ginseng and maca, things like that are really great for women and men, to be honest, on helping to support what's going on with your hormones. Another big piece of hormone balance is detoxification. So eating like lots and lots of brassica family vegetables like broccoli and broccoli sprouts, and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, things like that, helps to increase our intake of something called sulforaphane, which helps to detox our estrogens and help to balance them. So I would say those are probably the two biggest things, on top of supporting gut health is huge for us for hormone balance. So yeah.
Great. Well, those are all of the specific questions that I had for you today.
Yeah.
I would love for you to add any additional knowledge bombs to us, if you will, or we can also open it up for any questions. There's nothing currently in the chat, so if you wanted to just say anything else at this time, go ahead, right ahead.
Well, I guess I just would like to say, I mean, if anybody has any more questions regarding, how to support your family, or if there's anything in particular going on, in our office, we offer free 15-minute discovery calls, which we can kind of, chat about anything that's going on with people and whether or not our practice is a good fit for you. So it's a really nice feature that people can give us a call, and it's a free call just to get some more information about what's maybe going on.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but again, this is my first time hosting a Zoom, so if anyone has a question, I think you're able to unmute yourself, so feel free to speak up. All right, well, I think that's it then. I think you just gave everyone every bit of knowledge they were seeking today.
That's okay. Well, if anyone has questions further, they can always call the office.
Yes, and you can call the office 609-512-1468.
Yep.
512-1468. And then our general email is info@princetonih.com. Our website is www.princetonih.com. And we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Dr. Connie, for just so much great information into the winter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone have a great day. Stay healthy and happy holidays.